Greetings all! Today, we will be examining the relatively common fire or ice type Pokemon Vulpix and its rare fire or ice fairy type evolution Ninetales, collectively known as the Fox Pokémon. While they might not look like much of a threat at face value, the members of the Vulpix family are potent mammals that can make use of fire and other unique powers to make life difficult for those trying to tackle them head-on.
Vulpix have reddish-orange hair covering most of their form, with a cream-colored underbelly, and stand on 4 three-toed feet for locomotion and support. They have reddish-orange eyes, a black nose, pointed ears, and a series of red curls of hair on their forehead, which matches their posterior, as the most noteworthy feature are their 6 fiery red curled tails they have attached to their backside. These creatures have a unique Alolan variant that is the same general anatomical form, but whose body fur is a bright snow white, and the tail and hair crests being an even purer, brighter shade of white. The evolved form, Ninetales, have golden hair with a puff of extra hair around their neck and upper torso, and a longer crest of hair on their head, their eyes glowing a bright red color. Their tails have lengthened and split into a massive flowing mass of 9 tails with orange tips to them, held in a slightly bundled shape when at rest, but that can be extended fully when using special attacks. They too have an Alolan variant, whose fur is a bluish-white color, whose head crest and tail end is a squiggly form at the end, and grow whiter in shade the farther away from the base of their body one travels out towards their limbs and the ends of their tails. The members of the Vulpix family might look to be just typical fire types at first glance, at least outside their gender ratio, which favors females 3-to-1, but they are notably different because their capacity to generate fire to attack not only comes courtesy of their combustion organ, but, more interestingly, as a consequence of their capacity to utilize pyrokinesis to attack. These creatures are naturally imbued with an odd spiritual energy that allows them to access attacks and techniques that are often more commonly associated with psychic and ghost types than a typical fire type, granting them a mystical quality that shines through in their powers seen in and outside of battle, especially in the case of Ninetales. While these creatures are always warm to the touch and must spew fire from their bodies periodically in order to regulate their internal temperatures, it is this power that makes them feared amongst some, as they can readily twist their flames to scorch the landscape however they wish to, and as a whole can be seen as a severe threat in many confrontations to anything not resistant to the power of their flames. And even then, moves like the ghostly Will-O-Wisp, Confused Rain Extrasensory, among others, can make them a bit of a hazard to deal with. They further have the capacity to absorb heat energy in order to power up their own fire-type abilities, as reflected in their possession of the Flash Fire ability as their only base ability, while those that are able to direct their internal heat into the nearby air around them to superheat it can also have the rare Drought ability as a hidden ability. As far as the stats are concerned, in the case of Ninetales, their fire-type powers are relatively decent, but they are lacking in the way of pure power, stamina, and defense, so most of the base stats are below average for a fully evolved fire-type Pokemon. Thankfully, they do have considerable resistance against special damage and are quite nimble on their feet, so their base special defense and speed stats are above average for a fully evolved Pokemon of their type, and can thus allow them to at least tank some special hits and hit back quickly, potentially even first, to make the most of the special moves they have access to. When Vulpix are first born, they only have one tail, which is covered in extremely fine snow-white fur. As these creatures grow and experience positive feedback from their friends and family, their single tail will gradually split into 6 separate tails covered in magnificently lustrous orange fur. Curling at the ends, these warm tails serve as a symbol of both regal beauty and dangerous attraction, though they must be brushed diligently for them to maintain their form and not devolve into a mass of tangles. Vulpix are deceptive creatures and will often use their beautiful appearances to startle or distract opponents and prey alike, luring them in close for an impromptu roasting courtesy of their combustion organ.
They are also exceptionally intelligent creatures and are usually quite easy to train, making them a perfect starting point for young trainers that wish to specialize in their assigned type. Capturing one, however, is rarely such an easy task.
The moment that a Vulpix realizes it's facing an opponent it cannot easily defeat, it will feign injury in order to fool the enemy into letting it escape. Considering the fact that Vulpix have very few natural predators, this tactic practically ensures their survival against all other forms of opposition. If they can be obtained very early in their life, however, they can be raised very closely as a pet and will react to the trainers much as a trained Growlithe would. It is further noted that Vulpix are one of the few species of Pokemon known to have unique variant within the confines of the Alolan region. In this region, these creatures possess the same base stats but are ice types, possess the Snow Cloak ability as their primary base ability in place of Flash Fire, and Snow Warning as their hidden ability in place of Drought, and learn the Powder Snow, Ice Shard, Icy Wind, Mist, Aurora Beam, Ice Beam, Blizzard and Share Cold moves instead of Ember, Quick Attack, Fire Spin, Will-O-Wisp, Flame Burst, Flamethrower, Fire Blast, and Inferno. These creatures may have initially inhabited the grassy coastal areas and forests of the Alolan region, but it seems that pressure from strong predatory Pokémon on the islands proved to be a severe detriment to the survival of the species, forcing them to journey upwards towards the snowy mountain peaks of the region, where this pressure was much less present. Over time, this warped their anatomy completely as they adapted to the environment in an effort to preserve internal heat, and they became pure ice types, their brilliant coats turning snow white in order to blend in with their surroundings to hide them from the few predators that do live at such high altitudes.
This radical shift in power completely changes their primary combat abilities, but their natures and mannerisms have otherwise remained unaffected for the most part.
Living in land covered in snow year-round in packs of 2 to 5 members led by an Alolan Ninetales, these creatures have the ability to freeze anything near them solid with their icy breath, which is internally chilled to negative 58 degrees Fahrenheit, and they will generally use it as a quick way to dispatch prey before eating them.
Even their tails have the power to generate icy forces, as looking at them in microscope, ice crystals can be seen springing up from their individual hairs. Approaching them carelessly because of their cute looks is rarely a good idea, as it is likely that the boss Alolan Ninetales of the pack will attack and freeze you solid in defense. Because of the new regional adaptations, these creatures no longer fare very well in hot temperatures, and if they feel themselves becoming too overheated and uncomfortable, they will produce ice shards with their tails in order to cool down the surrounding air temperature.
These creatures are highly valued by the elderly of the Alolan region for their beautiful unmarked fur, and are often referred to as Keo by them in reference to their spotless, unblemished snow-white coats. Alolan Vulpix are thankfully easy to train and do get access to a fairly wide variety of moves, but if trainers really want to bring out their best, they will have to hunt down an Ice Stone, as that is the only item capable of initiating evolution in this variant.
When Vulpix are exposed to the radiant energy of a Firestone, their tails grow extremely hot before splitting from 6 tails into 9 that radiate heat as they increase in size substantially, turning a golden color and becoming only more brilliant in color the more they age.
While they might be more devious in their pre-evolved form, and in turn can gain access to the nasty plot technique where Vulpix cannot, these creatures are generally quite peaceful and do not intentionally try to hurt or deceive others in most cases. Miscommunication on this front is quite rare, as the creatures are extremely intelligent and can understand human speech perfectly. However, they are considered by some to be mystical creatures because if any one of their tails is pulled forcefully, these vindictive and restless beasts will use their seemingly supernatural powers to lay a terrible curse on them that will last for as long as the 9 tails that placed it lives, and this is a problem as these creatures can live for about 1,000 years, the curse in turn being passed down from generation to generation until its time is up. Said curses take on a variety of forms, and it is said by some that the specific tail that is pulled will determine the type of curse that is placed on their target. This is backed up by ancient stories that claim the Ninetales are the reincarnated fusion between 9 powerful magicians, though the true source behind the seemingly magical power is still uncertain. While their powers might make them difficult to approach in the wild, these foxes are still potent creatures that can make good use of their strengths to dazzle and set others ablaze, even going so far as to being able to temporarily control the minds of others from a single sinister glow from their eyes, and definitely not worth overlooking if the chance to acquire one is present. Lastly, just like their pre-evolved form, Ninetales have an Alolan variant, which differs in mostly the same ways as Vulpix do, additionally noted as being Ice Fairy types, learning the dazzling Gleam attack as soon as they evolve, having an EV yield of 2 in speed instead of 1 in special defense and speed each, and having a slightly decreased base attack stat and slightly increased base speed stat compared to normal Ninetales. While Alolan Vulpix can be found on all of the icy peaks in the Alolan region, Alolan Ninetales are only found in the wild atop one particular mountain that is revered as a holy site by the natives of the region, where it is said that great deities in the past came down. As a result, access to this mountain is strictly forbidden by the locals. In comparison to their normal variant, Alolan Ninetales are actually generally calm and gentle by nature when not defending the packs of Alolan Vulpix that they often lead, and will willingly help out travelers that are lost or dying in the frozen fields they call home, even if it is for the sole purpose of getting them out of their territory as soon as possible. As such, in ancient times it was thought that they were the incarnate form of a great deity before it was discovered that they were merely a regional variant of a globally dispersed species. This is still very much present in their powers though, as unlike in their normal variant, the psychokinetic powers of these beasts are so great that they actually manifest in the form of a makeshift fairy force, effectively granting these beasts a secondary fairy type assignment upon evolving. While these creatures might be kind to most travelers, they will attack anyone that dares to destroy their habitat with ruthless aggression, using their powers to produce ice crystals from the fur on their backs and tails to block attacks, freeze enemies in place instantly, or even form balls of ice that Alolan Ninetales can then fire off at opponents like bullets with the strength needed to pulverize rock. Though they might not have the most conventional of type assignments, Alolan Ninetales are still powerful creatures and more than worth fearing if you come as anything but a friend when you enter their domain.
Mystical in their powers, and a dazzling sight to behold on any day, the members of the Vulpix family are unique foxes that can definitely bring both the heat, cold, and some unique power to the table in any confrontation they're made a part of. You might have to go out of your way to find a rare fire or ice stone to make the most of their power, but it can still be a worthwhile venture if you're in need of some special resistance and agility to round out your team.
Do yourself a favor and make sure to take care of these creatures and give them plenty of affection and careful grooming. And by careful, it is meant very careful. For as understanding as they can be, yank too hard on the tail of a Ninetales and you will quickly find that their curses know neither friend nor foe and will hit you just the same as anyone else that dares to make a mockery of their magical and lustrous beings. Thank you all for watching this video. It is always an honor to be able to speak with you all on the subject of Pokemon in a way that brings me great joy and happiness in my work. If you would like to keep tabs on past and future work, click that subscribe button, check out my work on DeviantArt, and don't be shy about following me on Twitter, where you can find pertinent announcements on upcoming work before it is officially posted. Links to both can be found in the video description. If you would like to support my work and help Miguel and I continue to produce more content for you and improve upon our presentation, please visit us at my Patreon page, which you can also find a link to in the video description.
No.
With that, I thank you for watching and I wish you well.